Welcome to the Underground, the Steel City Underground, the black and gold standard for Pittsburgh Steelers coverage. Now, here's your host, Terry Fletcher.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Steel City Underground podcast. My name is Terry Fletcher. I am going solo this week, and I strained my voice, not just from podcasting, but also from what I do for a living, which is I'm a public speaker. So I might have to start and stop a little bit here, but wanted to get this in the books. I'm traveling this week for my job, and because things are heating up and with the holidays, we want to make sure that we're on target and still bring you some of our quality podcasts when we can. So let's talk about week 10. This is the WTF podcast, of course. And week 10, well, it started off great. We came off a huge win against the Ravens on a Sunday night on week 9. 4 days later, we went in and put a 50-burger up on the Carolina Panthers. And I don't know about you, but I got pretty sick and tired of hearing everybody say, oh, they're like the best team we're going to see, the best team out there. I don't know what you saw, but they played like crap. I mean, the turnovers and, we had one series where we had 2 touchdowns in 11 seconds. Our very first series on the ball, it was 11-second touchdown, and then Cam threw an interception. And so to our defense, and then we had another touchdown. So actually, I guess that's 13 seconds. See, I'm on cough medicine. What are you going to do with me? But we had 52 points, and that's the most we've ever put up in Steeler history with this crew. And we were just so good on Thursday nights. And there was actually a report. We were 7-2. Obviously, now we're 8-2 on Thursday night games, and I think that includes games that are also like Thanksgiving and things like that, because it's not just because there's not enough Thursday night games to look at all of that. But that's pretty good. And they said that Cam was 5-5. Now he's 5-6. So not trying to take too much away from the Carolina Panthers, but they didn't play well, but we played awesome. Everybody seemed to get a touchdown. It was a touchdown party. The defense got into it. Our special teams just did an amazing job on making sure that on kickoffs, the balls were down where they should have been. One thing I thought was funny was the media, after the first half, they said the only time that the Steelers didn't score was when they took a knee at the last seconds of halftime in the first half. So anytime we had the offensive possession, we scored. I mean, it was an awesome game. I mean, a WTF did we just do that? I've watched it twice already, and I'm probably going to watch it again. I love rewatching our games when we win like that. But what it did for us, and this is a big, what the football, this is great. It moved us in, not just, we were still leading in the AFC North and be first there, but because, and I'll get to this game, because the Patriots lost to the Titans, it moved us into 2nd seed in the AFC. So as the media loves to say, if the season ended today, we would be the 2nd seed. Of course, the season's not going to end after 9 weeks of football, but if they're going to say that, we'll take it. But let's take a look at what did happen in the Titans-Pats game. So at halftime, it was 24-10. And I'm like, you know what? It's Tom Brady. They're going to come back. They're going to score. Nobody ever counts him out to the last seconds of the game. And even if you're not a fan of his, you just know that's what's going to happen. It just, they just don't really lose. They always seem to go in the locker room. Bill Belichick says something to everybody, probably threatens them within an inch of their life, and then they go back out there and win the game. But let's talk about reality. The Titans end up beating the Patriots 34-10, which first of all means they did not score after the first half at all. But somebody said, is Brady declining? And they always say that ever since he turned really 38. But then he came back and kept, winning Super Bowls. But he seems to be having some issues. But let's look at what they did. If you're going to use him as a wide receiver, he's slow 10 years ago. He was slow 20 years ago. Okay, so why are you using him now at 41 years old as a wide receiver? He's slower than me, and he lost his footing. So he's going to look pretty old out there if you're using him that way. And it's so silly, because then The other team said, well, maybe we'll try it. And it works. Those end arounds and what they're doing there. So, yeah, that's probably not a good idea. But I definitely get excited when I see a team that I think, I don't want to say the Titans are mediocre, but I'm going to say it out loud. I think they're okay. I love Marcus Mariota just for who he is and what he's brought to the NFL as far as just character. And he's a decent quarterback. Is he top 10? I don't know. With what we have out there right now, probably number 10. But, you know, he doesn't have a lot to work with like we do at the Steelers as far as weapons. But I'm telling you, they're getting it done. So you did to beat the Patriots. That's huge for them. And that was definitely a WTF moment there. And I'm tired of the excuses with the Patriots saying, well, we didn't have Gronkowski. And you know what? NFL Radio reported today that they win 79% of their games without Gronk. So we don't want to hear it anymore. No excuses. You know, that is what it is. Everybody's got injuries. A third of the league is on IR. So we just reported this week after the Rams game. Late last night, we heard that Cooper Kupp, which is one of their main wide receivers, he had torn his ACL. And so we have more injuries. One of our old wide receivers, Martavis Bryant, looks like he might have a PCL. He's now a Raider. So there's all kinds of injuries out there. And Gronk, I think his days are numbered because he's injured a lot. But we'll see. We're going to have to play them at some point in the season. And them being 7-3 and us being 6-2-1, they have another loss than we do. So that moves them down to the 3rd seed. So we kind of like that. And then the Saints beating Cincinnati. Now, we got the 52. So even though Saints put up a 50 burger as well, they only got 51. So, I mean, there you go. But they beat Cincinnati. I was absolutely a Saints fan this weekend. And so Drew Brees and company, they just had a field day with Cincinnati. And yes, they were without Burfict, without AJ Green, etc. But again, no excuses. People were without, some players. So either you get it done or you don't. And look what happens. But that helped the Steelers quite a bit. And Cincinnati just looks terrible out there. I don't know what's going on. I know that their defensive coordinator got fired this week. So Marvin Lewis is reported going to be taking over calling duties for the defense, which is really odd to me because, I think he was in the hot seat last year and they're giving him so much leeway. I mean, if this is not a coach, he's only been there a couple of years. He's one of the longest tenured coaches in the league. And he not only doesn't have control of his entire team, they just get to a certain point and then they implode. And so, everybody says, oh, Cincy, until, you get to the 5th, 6th game of the year. And they're like, yeah, no, Pittsburgh. We start off slow, they start off fast, and then we build momentum. I'd rather have it our way. But yeah, it was just sad for them, but happy for the Saints and for the Steelers who got that. But definitely a WTF. And it looks like it was reported in our last weeks where Hugh Jackson from the Browns got fired along with his offensive coordinator, our old one, Todd Haley. Well, it looks like Hugh Jackson is headed back to Cincinnati, and I have a feeling he's going to be on the defensive end of things. He's a decent play caller. He just doesn't know how to deal with being a head coach. Obviously, whoever's in play now, he won a game. So the Browns actually now won 3 games in the year. So good for them. But it's sad to see the carousel going on right now in a lot of teams. And then the Raiders. Now, here's where I got something like thrown in my face. So last week was not a good week for me for fantasy football. It was sad. I got killed by my money league person who was playing me. He's actually my music producer on my podcast for work, my Codecast podcast. And he killed me. I mean, by 100 points. I was like, really? So I went from 3rd to 5th, jumped over me. And then in my own league, I lost from my daughter by 3 points. That's a killer. You almost want to lose by 100 points. But what was really stupid, and this is me, I was absolutely dumb doing this. I thought I'd be, shifty and think, well, the Raiders have to win at some point, right? No, the Raiders lost again. They're now 1-8. I took them as my survival, and that was just really stupid. I had first said I was going to take the Kansas City Chiefs, and I didn't, and that was just really dumb. So, yeah, the Raiders are on a really kind of cool losing streak. Who knows if they get the first pick or not, but and when I say that, I mean just they can't buy a win. There's nothing they can do. They've got Derek Carr, who, since he broke his leg, he is just so tentative out there, makes really bad decisions when he doesn't know his downs, doesn't know the situation. And nice kid, but, and unfortunately, big contract. But I just don't think he knows how to play within John Gruden's scheme. I just don't know what's going on over there. But it was really kind of interesting. But the Browns, I mean, the big WTF for them, not only did they win, but they beat the Falcons. And so the Falcons were 4-4. So this was really sad for them. But that was a huge WTF. I'm like, the Browns are winning. And whenever we say that, it's really sad because, you know, they haven't won much over the years. But I think now the Raiders and possibly, I don't know, Arizona and 49ers I feel bad for them with losing Garoppolo, them putting in a backup, and now they've got Mullins, another backup, you know, and he actually did well last week. But when you don't have a quarterback, what do you do? So, you know, they're trying to get by. But I think that the Raiders are the new Browns, if you will. And everybody's just like, I feel bad for the Raiders fans. What are they going to do? They're going to take this feeling they have and move to Las Vegas and go to those games where they have to pay for a flight or a 6-7 hour drive? I think not. So that will be definitely something interesting. So speaking of the Chiefs game, Tyreek Hill, his celebration, acting as a cameraman, jumping into the stands and turning the camera over to film his celebration. Well, everybody thinks that's funny, like the other guy taking out the cell phone. And I think when you're winning, it's really funny, but it's a 15-yard penalty if you use a prop. These kids, they're just little kids. Come on, people. Celebrations are great, but stay within the rules. 15-yard penalty. What if you were losing? But yeah, the Chiefs continue to win, but they're getting scored on. So we'll see how long their winning streak keeps lasting. I am actually happy for them. I've always been a kind of a closet Chiefs fan, so I'm actually happy what they're doing. Because they're AFC, let's not win too much. let's start on the other side of things. But one thing that's a WTF for me is this weekend. Okay, so we're gonna have to be Ravens fans, Yinsers, and we don't want to be, but the Ravens play Cincinnati. The Ravens are 4-5, and Cincinnati is 5-4, and the Steelers are 6-2-1. So I don't want to be a Ravens fan either. But at 6-2-1, if the Ravens can beat Cincinnati, it means that we will be 2.5 games up on the Ravens and 2 games up on Cincy. And with Flacco dealing with some kind of a hip issue, and AJ Green, the wide receiver on Cincinnati, and Burfict, you all know who he is. They were out. He was out with a concussion protocol. Actually, it was after he played in our game. You know, who knows who'll win that game? They're both playing terrible, but we want the Ravens to win that game. It's a division game, and we want to make it even. We want the Ravens to be 5-5 and Cincy to go to 5-5. That just helps the Steelers. So just quietly be not a Ravens fan, but at least just go, okay, can you know, Andy Dalton throw more picks than Joe Flacco does. Let's just see if they can do that. And then a couple of WTF, and I know that's a big WTF because nobody wants to be a fan of either one of those teams. But our next opponent is the Jaguars, and their starting center I saw is out, but they're 3-6. And so they've lost their last several games, and they're playing not well at all. They've got Bortles. They just are not the team they were last week. Now, they did get their Leonard Fournette back, and he had a decent game. But if we can stop there and not having your center, think of us not having Pouncey. That's a huge WTF for us if that ever happens. So that's something that we definitely want to keep an eye on. But if the Steelers can win that game, boy, that would be just huge for us. Now, the one thing to remember about the Jags game, we are at Jags, and it's on the 18th, and we were flexed. That was supposed to be a Sunday night game. I know our fearless leader, Joe Kuzma, he actually has tickets down there. He's going to be part of the tailgating experience, all hosted by the Jaguars and what they're doing there. And so that's a great thing for him. But it got flexed. So now the game is the 1 o'clock game. It's hard for me to say that because, you know, I'm based in California. So for me, it's the 10 o'clock game, which we prefer it early game. But yeah, it's the early game. So just know that did get flexed. You know, if the Jaguars were doing anything, it wouldn't have been flexed. So kind of interesting there. And then my last WTF, well, my second to last. I don't know if you ever get a chance. So me being in California, I get a lot of opportunity, not just to see the Rams play, but to listen to Coach Sean McVay, who's, he's 34 years old, youngest coach in the league. He reminds me of my little brother. He's just cool. He's a cool guy. And his press conference today, they were talking about Aaron Donald, and he is the Rams defensive end. And he puts on a helmet in his game because he got a cheap shot by the Seahawks center Justin Britt. And he puts on his helmet after the game to go retaliate and have words with Justin Britt, and he shouldn't have. And McVay said something to him and basically said, do not do that. It could have been bad for him. It could have been really bad for the league. And he was asked at the press conference today about it. And I loved his response just about the vets needing to understand there's always a learning opportunity, and to basically not let the emotions, get you in those games, and focus on your game. But what was the funniest, I don't know if it was a WTF, but it was kind of a cute WTF, if we'd say that. He says, not just the players, but the coaches have to be better. Now remember, he's 34. And so this is funny to me. And he said into the cameras, he goes, even I have to be better as a coach. He said, after the game, I have to be better with my language, because my mom was really mad at me or upset with me for something, that I said on TV. And I was dying laughing, because when they won the game, and they won in the last, minute, because Russell Wilson threw away that ball where they had a chance in the last 11 seconds, and they won by 3. But it was just so funny, because I saw his response on TV, and when you lip read, you can see when they're using profanity, and he's like, F yeah. And you're just like, oh, you just know what he said. And you just know his mom went, that's my son. He shouldn't be saying that. And you just know he got a call or a text from his mom going, okay, you're on national TV. You need to be professional. And the fact that he even said it, and it just brings me back to his age. It was just kind of funny to me. So anyway, that's our WTF for the week. And the last one would have to be the Monday night game. Who's playing? Well, who's playing? Yeah, the epitome of why we would probably even not watch the game. So if you have something to do, great. If you want to do some housework or fold laundry or cook or have a barbecue during the game, it's the Giants and 49ers. So neither one have even a close to winning record. I think between them, they've won, 3 games? It's pretty sad. So we'll see what happens tonight. Looks like Mullins is in, and since Eli Manning has a no trades clause in his contract, he gets to do whatever he wants. But really, what are you going to do this year? You just basically play it out where they're at right now, over halfway through the season, and let the chips fall where they may. But if he is a New York Giant next year, I think I'd be shocked. So we'll see what happens with that. And to me, that's just a WTF of a Monday Night Football game going, great, this is what we're dealing with. It's bad enough that the ESPN booth cannot seem to find a duo that can speak to the crowd. I mean, Jason Witten is really nice, and his little friend, whoever he is, that is, and they're trying to be a media guy. They're just too quiet, and they're just not. They don't know what's going on in the game all the time. They try to be politically correct. It's just sad to me when you see that Monday Night Football on ESPN has turned into what it has. Get a couple of women in there. Let's do some women commentating. I would love to see that. They can't be any worse. Get Melissa Stark in there. Get somebody in who really knows football, and that you want to listen to. Please don't put in Susie or some of those other women. And I'm saying that because, and I'm not being mean, I'm a female, so I can say it. But some of you want to listen to, but they need to get somebody else in there. I really wish Tony Romo took it over, because if you ever get the opportunity to hear him on CBS, he is awesome. But it'll be interesting to see how long this duo lasts. So anyway, everybody, make it a great week, a great day, and thanks for listening to the Steel City Underground podcast. This is Terry Fletcher and the WTF. We'll talk to you next week.
We would like to thank you for listening and remind our listeners to follow us on social media and our website, www.steelcityunderground.com.